James is going to talk about that book. And there's his meal. It's a veggie burger, one of those pork bowls with the pork removed and some fixings for the burger.
So the burger's a veggie burger, right?
Yeah.
You did say that. Good.
And I'm going to talk about Shadow in the Cloud. That got top of the stack rating. And then The Hunt, The Secret She Keeps, Last Dance, and Synchronic. And talk about these veggie burgers at a later date, because right now, I don't really know how they'll be. It's the first time we're trying them. They're not one of my patties. They're ones that were given to us by the food bank. And,
much appreciated.
Much appreciated. One thing I did notice on the package is it's extremely high in saturated fat.
Okay.
So I don't think this is a product that I would buy unless maybe I'll look at the ingredients and see if they look like it could be a ketogenic product. Then that would be fine. But I'll have to look. The color, I can say right now, it's not beef like. It says it's a simulated beef plant-based product, right? But it doesn't look anything beef like. That's fine with me.
It does taste like beef to me, and maybe to the average person who lives on cheeseburgers and stuff like that, it won't taste like it.
Maybe
it
not.
Tastes
but
almost.
I'm having it plain without the bun and the fixings. It tastes just like it to me.
Yeah, it tastes almost too much like beef for me.
So, anyway, James and I are beat up because we went on a hike that.
An ill-advised hike.
Even the park, they say on the sign, they have the rules for not climbing up the canyon walls and all that sort of thing. Which honestly, they should have more signs like that, because it's hard to see. You only see it at the bottom of the bridge from the walkway leading into the canyon. So if you enter the canyon from any other place, you won't see that sign, and you may not even see it then, because how many people actually read signs?
They don't. They're too used to getting propaganda off of advertisement.
So it would be better if they put a sign that had pictures with like a toddler monkeying up the side of a canyon wall or something, and with an X through it. Don't do that, rather than words saying that. And you can have words underneath too, but anyway. And the signs there need to be more of them, and they need to be more obvious for people to find and see and read by just with pictures. Because also, it's a national park. Is everyone going to speak English going into the national park? Are they going to be able to read English? You need pictures. So I'm disappointed with the national parks, whoever made the signs. They could have hired somebody better, because it's obvious to me that sign's a problem. But anyway,
it's especially a problem around Red Rock Canyon. It has a lot of people who look as though they come from elsewhere, and so more so than, let's say, Cameron Lake. And of course, Cameron Lake is more so than other places. So, there were places I ran across people from Ireland. Shouldn't be too much of a problem with the language. Very few Irish people actually speak Irish, especially as a first language. On the one trail, I ran across some folks from the Ukraine. Yeah, nice folks. Via Yorkton. I live in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. The wife was either shy or didn't have a very good command of English. I think it was the latter. Or both, really.
Anyway, we won't be doing that hike again, because it's not a real hike, as far as I'm concerned.
It was largely just an annoyance and danger.
It's just, James read it in and I guess he showed it to me too, so I read it too. But James wanted to do it because he was interested in it from the Andrew Nagara book that we looked through recently, and James loves that book. He gave it a very good review. And anyway, Andrew Nagara said there's the falls at the end of that, and you know I love falls. I wanted to see that, but I don't. In my mind, the falls look retarded.
Because
they're not good at all.
We didn't make it that
Because
far.
I don't want. We didn't make it that far, and I don't want to make it that far. So I'm just saying, yeah, those falls, they look bad anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want, sour grapes kind of thing.
Yeah, so try to imagine this like it was basically maybe an hour out, 2 hours back. No, to a large extent it's 2 hours for me back because I was talking with
he fell. James fell in the rock.
Well, I also got slowed down and going down.
Yeah, he was talking to people.
I was, but I fell a couple of times, and I don't want to ever do that. The last 12 years, I've fallen 4 times, 2 times yesterday within about 15 seconds. One of the other times was crossing a creek, so I shouldn't have gone on it at all. Because basically, when you go up Red Rock Canyon, I'm not talking about going around it on the arranged path. You are just doing the equivalent of crossing the creek again and again and again and again. And it was just a bad idea. I did want to see the falls. That's about the only thing that really interested me. It took us, it would be almost certainly an hour to do roughly less than a kilometer and a half.
Yeah, because you have to be so careful where you stop.
Yeah, and even then it didn't turn out enough for me. So it doesn't come recommended at
Unless you're a parent trying to
get rid of some kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, oh man,
and you
we
just
saw
let them run loose, climbing up the walls and falling down constantly. And
one of the reasons why conventional nuclear families should only have 2 kids is there's a parent for each kid.
Yeah.
We saw so many kids on the loose in dangerous sorts of things, like a kid was out of sight of the parents, for example, several kids, and one of them could have fallen, knocked themselves out, landed in the creek, face down, drowned. Yeah. There were kids falling, you were saying, right? I didn't see any of that, but I could have, I suppose, but I was too busy just concentrating on where my feet were falling, so I didn't fall. Anyway, it ended up being halfway back. I was saying to people, boy, this is like a freeway. That's how many people were coming up.
Insane. I've never, I've walked along and looked down from the bridge, where the canyon's deep. And I've never seen that many people go. It's rare when I even see any people going under the bridge.
It's crazy.
But I know they do it, but there's just not that many that go on that far. Usually people just go down to the water and splash around and go back up, right? But when we turned around and decided to go back, it was just like we were still fighting the current. It was just fighting through people trying to get back.
Waiting for them to get back, because it was many places it's just like one-lane traffic.
Yeah, because you want to go the safest route. You don't want to be risking falling. Anyway, Shadows in the Cloud. This got top of the stack in spite of the fact that it seems to me to be sexist. And if you've watched this and you're a woman, you're like, what are you talking about? Girl power. And it's like, yeah, the men were, maybe back in, this is set World War II kind of.
World War II sci-fi? Is it?
Yeah, it's World War II sci-fi.
Weird. Okay.
So, it's set World War II, and maybe all the guys were total pig dogs back then. I don't know, but I doubt it. And anyway, so there's she's the one who's saving people aren't believing her when she says she sees certain things, and she saves their life time and time again. And the men, they're dying left, right, and center. And she's doing really, she's going to extraordinary lengths to save the package that she's brought aboard, and other people. So really, all the men, they're just they're sexist pigs, and they're helpless. They're the damsel in the, so they've done a role reversal here. And when you do that, if you look at things how they were back then, and you kind of laugh about it now because things are different, and that's good. But when you do something like this now, it actually is sexist to do that. You don't change the roles later on at a later date and say, oh well, this is, you know, showing that this is really how it is now. You know, it's it won't turn out well when you do things like this. So as much as I found it entertaining, got top of the stack, and I can see, you know, even it's not only, well, I guess I can't say that, or I'll give the story away a bit, but everyone is treating her in a sexist sort of way and trying to control her. And anyway, still, I found it entertaining, and I'd give it the top of the stack. I'd watch it again. It was worth watching again. It's an entertaining movie. But I just wanted to point that out, that I'm not really fond of the girl power movies where the girl is really tough and all the guys are just wimpy, you know, damsels in distress sort of thing. I'm not fond of that in this day. You know, it's I do like it more because this is set in World War II, and I can kind of think, okay, well, the makers of the movie are not saying things are like this now. They're saying they were back then. And that's the only kind of rationale my brain can give it so that I can still enjoy this movie, I guess. So, and The Hunt got second in the stack, and it's in this movie. It's another girl power movie, and both of the most powerful people in this movie are women, and so you get a good cat fight. Look forward to that. But I mean, not all of some of the men are wimpy, some of the women are wimpy, but really the people seem more believable in this, as much as they're extremes of like this is a political sort of movie, so they're showing extremes of types of people, but you can still see, oh yeah, well, this is believable, these people are believable. And yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. It's I don't know that I honestly believe that this would happen, but there's a lot of these sort of movies out here where people are being hunted for whatever reason, and I guess there must be a reason for that. People must feel like they're being attacked right now, and that's why there's so many of these movies coming out.
There's a lot of witch hunting going on.
Yeah, so and I think that has really triggered the making of this movie. So did I enjoy watching it? Sure, you bet. I think people would enjoy watching this movie. I did. The Secret She Keeps. This is a mini-series, and it's about one woman who can't have children and goes to great lengths to try to become a mother and win the man of her dreams. And it's sad. And it's quite believable. I think the whole religious background of the of the woman who can't have children is a bit unbelievable. It's extreme. I don't know though. Maybe, but it doesn't seem believable. I don't believe that. But anyway, it didn't get that high in the stack because I honestly didn't care for it that much. The Sharon Stone movie must have been the worst Sharon Stone movie. Last Dance. It's about a woman on death row. And honestly, I'm really not sympathetic. I know when I was younger, I used to think, oh, well, what if people are on death row and they didn't do it and whatever. And it's like, nowadays, I think they're pretty sure when people do it, you know? It used to be a bit of a crapshoot. People would get the death penalty and on what evidence? But now with DNA and everything, I don't know. If you get the death penalty, there's probably a pretty good reason for it nowadays. Am I just out to lunch about that? What do you think? What's your opinion on that?
Depends on if it's a democracy or not. There'd be all sorts of
that's
people
true.
with death penalty.
Yeah. I was thinking about within
China,
the
exactly.
American system. That's what I was thinking, because that's where this is set. But you're right. Elsewhere, there may be political reasons for people being where they are, or it may be a society where, well, there's a lot of places in the world where it's death penalty for being homosexual, and that's not. And what do you do about that? When you have a population of people where they're all for it, they're like, yeah, down with the homosexuals. Okay, well, no immigration for you, because, that the people coming from that population, unless they are homosexual themselves, and you can verify that, then they're not, like those people, yeah, they're refugees, because they're faced with the death penalty where they are. But the rest of them, you definitely don't want them in your population. Yeah. So, anyway, Synchronic got the bottom of the stack. This was a sci-fi thing. It says sci-fi at its best. Wow. Bottom of the stack. This was not. Nothing about this movie was at its best. It was about. They were trying to make a commentary about the drug scene and everything like that. And James and I were just talking about it. How you hear on the news a lot about ambulances. There's no ambulances available for people because they're all booked and stuff, and it's like, what are they booked for? And people are going to start having serious problems with the fentanyl crisis and everything like that, and it's not going to be in the direction a lot of left-wingers are hoping it'll take, because if there's no health care available for common working people, if there's no adequate education system, if there's no, but honestly, first and foremost, I think for most people, it's the healthcare. But there's a lot of things that if the common working people are seeing their livelihoods really impacted in recent years, they're going to become very unhappy with certain groups that are making problems, taking their rights away, taking what they have worked for literally their lifetimes, their grandparents have worked for, to achieve for them. And then where are we going to be? So, anyway, that's that. And there's a lot of people that are making their livelihoods. You know, a lot of aggressive propagandists are putting themselves into positions where they're it's a not-for-profit organization that they set up that totally profits them really lots, you know, and they're profiting off of the fentanyl crisis, or they're profiting off whatever, and they're making out like they're altruistic doing this work, and it's like, wow, yeah, and you're pulling $250,000 a year doing that.
We've got to
Organizing
be.
these setups, like,
We've got to
really watch.
overstate the cases.
Nah.
225.
Was
I
it
know
225?
I know I've said $250,000, so that's where you get it from. But so I'm at fault. But
Okay.
I've got to correct it. It was 225 or so. But that's here in Lethbridge, our supervised overconsumption site overseer. She was going around saying reports of needles were needles being left out in public were an internet phenomenon.
Yeah.
I wasn't on the internet, you stupid dingbat.
Yeah.
And there was stuff in the alley. We found one. I found one. I pointed it out to one of our neighbors who's a member of the RCMP.
And it still
And
had
for a
the
while
drugs in it.
he'd been it still
He
it
squirted
was full of it.
He squirted it out.
Yeah. Some kids, if they
Like,
found that monkey
I mean,
around
he had
with it,
kids.
could have stabbed you.
He has kids.
And
They
he's got
could've-
3 now.
I mean, both his wife is a doctor, so I think they would have taught their children not do
Kids
not,
will do.
but kids will do
Kids
all
will
sorts
do
of
whatever if
things.
they're young enough. They could stab another kid. You know, they wouldn't stab themselves. But get some
Yeah.
younger kids start.
Yeah, they might think it's like they could make sword fight sort of thing. So I don't know.
Well, it's like,
I don't know.
okay, you be the patient, little kid.
Oh my gosh,
You
yeah,
see?
they could do that.
There we go.
too.
Stab,
Yeah,
stab.
Who knows?
Just a little bit. And if that was fentanyl, it would be just absolutely freaky. So.
Yeah.
But they were doing all sorts of crazy
It's gotten
things.
a
You know,
lot
like
better,
they.
It's gotten
See,
a lot
they were
better,
saying,
and-
oh, once that SOS supervised over consumption site was closed down, it would get. We haven't seen needles around. Right?
No, we haven't.
Oh, see,
And
they were
but
saying
it
it's going to
could
be so
in
much
part
worse.
With like they set up another not-for-profit organization. It was the Watch, and they were just people walking around. They'd go walk around town in pairs in troubled areas, and they'd like if you wanted an escort, then you could call them for an escort to go somewhere. Just walk with. So that I think it helped. Honestly, I think they really helped. Just being out there.
Yeah. No, I think they were actually. It wasn't as though they came after the supervised overconsumption site. I think they were something that they had to have even while that thing was going.
Yeah. Well, things were getting really bad.
I was getting out of
But,
hand. So
I mean, you'd see
we
people. They'd have their dog on a rope, and they'd have a big wagon covered over with a blanket neatly, and behind, and you know that they didn't look like they were homeless at all. They didn't look like that was their livelihoods in that cart, and they had this dog that was like a pit bull, you know, scary big dog on a rope, you know, and that was just the dog to guard whatever was under that blanket in the wagon. And you'd see them, you know, you'd see them around, and then sometimes they'd stop and say, "Yeah, I'm ready to be picked up now." They'd be talking on their cell phone.
on a cell phone.
And it's like, okay, so they're just totally blending in with the homeless scene, you know.
Spreading the wealth around. Of course, wealth in terms of dope and really sucking up the wealth.
But I mean, if I saw it, then easily the police saw it and stuff like that. And I guess eventually they kind of dealt with it because,
I hope so.
well, somebody did, because it's better now.
Well, it's the one
It's
thing.
not all better.
You know,
It's
I
not
noticed.
like you go to the doctor and they say, "So how are you feeling now? Are you better?"
Yeah.
Not all better.
Yeah, but
No, never all better.
Relatively better.
Relatively better.
One thing I'd say that's definitely improved is they had the supervised overconsumption site, and it was supposed to be for fentanyl overdoses. And then you'd see people doing the Charlie Manson chicken dance going down the road. I'm going, what? Fentanyl doesn't have that effect. We see people with fentanyl and they get all, it's like they get all crippled and turned over and stuff like that.
They're hunched right
But
over.
sometimes it isn't symmetrical, you know, it's over this way. And and then it was revealed that they were starting to give supervised treatments for amphetamines, methamphetamines, and cocaine, or whatever, all the stuff that jive people up. That's absolutely irresponsible. You pump people full of that stuff, and then you let them loose on the city. Charlie Manson chicken dance. They're just people on amphetamines are crazy. That's what Charlie Manson and his folks really drove them crazy. When here, one person said about it. Everyone was saying LSD murders. No. This person who was hanging around the periphery of the Manson family said that's when it went crazy. It was around Christmas 1968. That's when the amphetamines hit. You see? Methamphetamines. It causes paranoia and so on and so forth. Anyway, have we got a little time to deal with Contract on America? I've got a contract with folks out there.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
So tune in sometime in the future. You'll be dealing with Jack Ruby's testimony. So I'm just going to start. Mr. Ruby, is there any way to get me to Washington? Chief Justice Warren of the Warren Commission. I beg your pardon? Ruby, is there any way of getting me to Washington? I don't know of any. I'll be glad to talk to your counsel, that's your attorney, about what the situation is, Mr. Ruby, when we get an opportunity to talk. I don't think I will get a fair representation with my counsel, Joe Tonhill, mob lawyer. And he's saying he's not representing Ruby. I don't think so. I would like to request that I go to Washington and you take all the tests that I have to make. That's a polygraph test, a lie detector test. It is very important. He wanted to tell the Warren Commission what was really happening. And when people say, oh, it was a state, JFK killing was done by the American government, was done by LBJ. LBJ was president. And Ruby wants to go where he is. He's saying, I'm not safe here in Texas, where there are corrupt officials working with the mob. And Warren Commission didn't take him, and he ended up dying of cancer. But I suspect he was fed a dose one way or another of cancer that eventually and fairly quickly took his life. He wanted to go to Washington. He wanted to go to the feds. He wanted to go to where LBJ was. Got that straight? Thank you.